Hey guys, how you doing? This is Jeremy Williams, and I just wanted to do a video today on the topic of whether it's worth it or not to restore a vintage Nitro RC. And that's a very interesting question. That can mean a lot of different things to different people. Some would say yes, some would say no. I would say yes, but I understand why a lot of people, wouldn't go that route. But kind of wanted to dive into that first. You guys have seen videos of this before. This is, my Losi LST, which was an eBay find years ago. It was complete. It was an original LST, but it hadn't, or it wasn't complete. The chassis was complete. Everything was there besides the engine, I believe. It's been a while. I'm trying to think. But it was, it was pretty rough. Took a lot of time to get it to where it is today. And it was a really big learning experience. When I did Nitro RC, I usually got, like new kits. I mean, I definitely had bought used stuff before, but I'd buy it new, and I knew what I was doing with it. I was the one in charge of the braking of the engine. I was in charge of setting up linkages and running it in and keeping temps in check and the whole thing. Now, when you buy a used Nitro RC, and it doesn't even matter if it's vintage or not, but especially something that's old and isn't made anymore, you got to remember that it's going to take a lot of time and energy to get it to where you want to be. Usually, you can buy these things used, and you think like, oh yeah, I'll look over the engine, or oh, I might need to change out a servo. You're probably going to have to do a lot more than that, and that's where the cost can add up, and it can get outrageous, especially in today's market. I still say it's worth it though, because I think it gives you a first of all, I think older RCs are maybe more interesting than current offerings. I just think, especially in the old monster truck scene, I just think they used to do a lot of cool things. A lot of different things here. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little biased for sure, but, I think this Losi LST is one of the coolest trucks, from this era, which would have included the Traxxas Revo, which I had. I loved Team Associated MGT. I had one of those when I was a kid or a teenager. That was cool. I never showed that one much love. I don't know why, but I wish I still had that one. um, HPI Savage, which is awesome. I've never owned one of them. I would like to someday. But when you buy used, you always got to remember you're going to need to put money into it. If you have extra engines on hand, that's great. Got to make sure it's compatible with, your model. For example, this requires a pull start. And that might seem like common sense to some people, but, some, wouldn't know that, requires at least a pull start, or, it could be a rotor start. Get your wand in there or whatever, but pull start or rotor start. You're not going to put a non-backplate engine in this. It's just not going to happen. And not everyone might know that. And you'd want to go through the shocks. I had to rebuild all these shocks. You'd have to go through the differentials. Well, you don't have to, but you should, and a lot of that stuff will be bad, or missing oil, leaky shocks, gas tank not sealing, or cracked, or, because a lot of people neglected these things, as, many people do with everything, their vehicle, their home, their life, whatever. You can neglect anything, but, when you're buying used, you're not always going to get a cherry. So, you got to be prepared for that, and, what that means is you just got to go through everything, be methodical, fix it, and And there you go. And then, you know, with time and effort, you can have a vintage, running, beautiful, perfect Nitro RC. Now, the other thing that requires is money. And in the vintage market for RC, you know, anyone that's in it or is considering, you know, oh, I want, you know, an old 20-year-old RC car that they don't make anymore, you also got to make sure that they still have parts for it. Now, here's my... I think with searching, you can find almost anything. I mean, there's, you know, there's plenty of old stuff out there that you cannot find a thing for anymore. You know, maybe some obscure models, or, you know, just really old, really old stuff from the 80s and 90s, you know, stuff that's 30, 40 years old in some cases now. This truck is probably 20 years old, but this thing's basically been fully rebuilt, and it's got a gallon of runtime on it. So, I mean, this thing's cherry. Everything. Transmission, axles, shocks, everything. I bought these tires. These weren't new, but are wheel and tires. But what I'm getting at is you want to make sure there's spare parts. And so what you do is you get them. For example, the Losi LST flywheel. They don't make any more. They haven't for a long time. You can't find it. This says $10.99. This says it was $6.50 at one point. This thing was probably 40 or 50 bucks for me. This is just a rare part. I showed this in another video, but oh, you want to do some upgrades for your LST? This I got a crazy deal on. I think this was like, I don't think this person knew what they had, but this is a Dynamite machined engine support brace. These are rare. Not really going to find them. I think there's one on eBay right now if anyone wants one. But these do not pop up like that. I've seen people, you know, ask 50 or 70 for these. You know, I don't know what they were back in the day, but I bet it wouldn't be more than 20 bucks. Forward-only conversion kits and stuff like that. From what I know, I mean, you can still find them once in a while on eBay. These things had fairly complicated transmissions, and they had a forward and reverse, 2-speed forward. I think it was a 2-speed reverse too, and had all these crazy gears in it and all sorts of stuff. And I did a forward-only conversion. This transmission is literally an input shaft. You got your output shaft going this way, and it's like 2 gears inside now. And but like you can't really find those anymore. And like once I found out that they weren't really making them, I went and got like more gears, you know, so I can at least put, they're probably never going to wear out, but at least I have them. So here's a forward only input gear, forward only counter gear, yada yada. And bags of spare parts. What's this? Here's another part you can't find ever. I mean, some pop up on eBay. These are brand new in the package fuel tank. You can't find these anymore. People want insane amounts. We want $100 for this. And the point of this video is not to brag about the cost of stuff like that. I'm not that kind of guy. What I'm telling, you know, I'm trying to let you guys know what you could be in for. You know, if you want to restore a vintage Nitro RC. Here's another fuel tank. I got lids, another lid in here, I think. I just got stuff. I got everything. I got turnbuckles, shock shafts. Here's another pull start for the Nova Rossi, just in case I need it. Can't get them anymore. Linkages, washers. What's this? Thrust bearings, and let's just dump this out. Let's dump this out. Spare parts. The point of this is to get spare parts. Here's another transmission cover. I'm not going to go through all of this, but what was this? It looks like I used this stuff. 20mm hex set. Might want one of those because no wheels or tires currently made today are 20mm, and they really weren't back then either, you know. And older LSTs had 14mm hexes. You're not going to find modern wheels and tires with a 14mm hex, as far as I know. So you want parts. And why I say it's worth it, you know, if you can swing it, you know, go for it. Restore that vintage RC, and but make sure you stock up on parts before you buy it. Make sure that, you know, you have the funds to, you know, afford what you might need. You know, read forums, read old school forums. Not every, you know, I don't use Facebook. I don't go on Facebook for anything. I know there's like deals out there and stuff, but I don't know about them. So, you know, go on forums and read old school forums and stuff like that. And, you know, sometimes you can find information, you know, go on Horizon Hobbies website. You know, you can see that, they basically stopped making parts for the LST. And of course they did. Truck sold. But you definitely want to consider that. And, you know, make sure that, you know, that you're able to get something. And don't ever let anyone tell you that you can't find anything, because you can. You can. This stuff is hard to find. Specifically, super specifically, for the Losi LST, you're going to want a backup fuel tank if you can ever find it, because you might never see it again. You're going to want a flywheel if you can find it, because it was a very specific flywheel. I'm not sure if you can use any others. I think I remember doing research back in the day, and there's really nothing you could use just because of the shape of this and how deep it was, and it had a certain size cone and nut and all that stuff. You know, I don't think you could just slap like a HPI Savage flywheel on here, for example, and stuff like that. And you know, maybe another set of wheels and tires. I'd say that'd be good. That would be good. And yeah, you know, that's just being specific for this platform. But again, you know, some of these parts take searching for, and you're gonna want to make sure they're available. But to answer the question, I absolutely think it's worth it restoring a vintage Nitro RC, especially if you're not super experienced. It can help you understand these vehicles more and what to do with them, how to fix them. You know, because a lot of people get these and they have no idea what to do. I didn't. Nobody does when they first get them. You got to learn. And it takes time. It's a very rewarding experience, and I highly recommend that you do it. But stock up on parts while you can, because there will be a day where you can't find this stuff anymore. But I got all this stuff years ago, and if I ever decided to run the crap out of this thing, I got enough stuff to rebuild it. Pretty much everything I need, and this wasn't even everything here. I don't even know where the other stuff is, probably in a box somewhere, but I'd have to look for that. But anyway, so yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. I just wanted to talk about that. I say absolutely go for it. Just know what you're getting into when it comes to restoring or fixing up a Nitro RC from the past, you know, an old vintage one. And what I wanted to talk about today, just a little tip or hint for you for your own health and well-being. You know, if you are able, you are physically incapable of moving, which I understand not everyone is. There's medical problems out there. There's stuff that happens. There's people in wars. There's people that have strokes, heart attacks. There's all sorts of medical problems out there. But if you are a capable human being, get up and exercise. What exercise does is it helps you get stronger, but it's not just physical. It's also mental. And, you know, if you're going through a rough time in life and stuff's going on, you know, you might, you know, not want to get up and stuff like this. Get up, go to the gym if you can, work out at home. You don't even need to go to the gym. Do some push-ups, do some squats, go for a walk. You don't even have to work out, but stay active, because it always, always helps your mindset and your physical body. As long as you do exercise properly. You can go too far with anything in life, but exercise and moving around and moving your body has a synergistic effect with your mind and makes you feel better mentally and physically. So thank you again for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate it. This is Jeremy Williams, also Good Vibes RC here, and thanks again, and stay tuned for more videos.